Alright, what's going on everyone? This is Mecha, and I'm recording a video about the Manster chapter, chapters 4 and onwards basically. If you don't know what that is, and you're still planning on playing Thracia, play Thracia first, because this is some fairly big spoilers. If you haven't seen this part of the map yet, you haven't played chapter 3 yet, don't watch this video anymore. Come back when you get stuck, because this video is for people who get stuck in the Manster chapters. I didn't really elaborate on them very much in my beginner's guide, because A, I didn't want it to be too long, and B, I didn't want to spoil any surprises. But I also don't want people to rage quit this game over being frustrated. So that's why I'm making this video, to give you general tips and directions on the Manster chapters, because they are pretty hard. So I'm going to seize this throne now. Turn away if you don't want spoilers. Okay, seize. You get a bunch of people like saying stuff. The basic summary of the story, this is still kind of glitched, but whatever. So the basic summary of the story at this point is Leaf gets captured by Raedric, the main villain of the game pretty much, and he gets put in jail along with Lithis. Everyone else from last chapter is gone, so that's kind of intimidating for new players. They have like a whole new group of people to work with and a whole new objective too. The point of this map is you have to escape from these arrows right here, and Leaf has to escape last. This is made clear in the dialogue between Leaf and Fergus. But in case you didn't know, now you know. Everyone has to go there and then Leaf has to go in there last. If you leave anyone else behind, they will be treated as dead until like very late in the game where you can get them back, but you don't want that. You want everyone to escape. And you get a whole new group of people here that can help you free them. The most important of them for this chapter is probably Lara, because she can pick all the locks, she can get the doors and the chests and free people. Brighton and Matcha are more like combat units. Lithis is also a thief that can open locks, and then you have a couple more combat units here, and Fergus and Leaf and Karen can kind of fight, but not really. Yeah, so a lot of people will make a couple of mistakes going into this chapter, even when prepared. The first is they bring too many items. What I mean by that is Lithis and Leaf, they have their inventory emptied in this chapter, but the content of what they had last chapter is actually put into these chests. I had 3 items on me, but you can see that there's actually 7 chests, 5 in this room, and 8. Apparently I have 1 more item. Okay, whatever. In the chests, in addition to what you usually have, you will have a steel sword, a javelin, a vulnerary, and a rapier. And yeah, that will make up all the chests in total. So their inventories plus those 4 items. And what you want to do is, like, a lot of people tell them like, hey, bring like a lot of iron swords or a lot of good weapons into these chapters. But I'm like, no, what you actually want to do is bring few items so that you spend less time opening chests and you can escape sooner, and that will mean you will fight less enemies, which means you will need less weapons, so you'll make it much easier for yourself. I have a very cheesy way of beating this map that I often show on stream when I'm doing like Iron Man runs, but that's not what I want to do on this map, because I think that's like cheese is not really the way you want to play your game the first time, right? You kind of want to experience the game, so to speak. You can look up the cheese strats if you want, but I'm going to show some more general directions on how you can play the game but still win the chapter. So the first move you want to do usually is, this is the only turn-by-turn bit I'm going to do, is you open this door with Lara to get access to the chest room, and then also put her in range to be rescued by Matcha. We're going to take away her slim sword in advance, and we're going to rescue her. And then I'm going to put Brighton here, trade, and let's see, trade with Matcha actually. I said Matcha, thank you. And we trade a steel sword for the short sword. This is just personal preference, but Matcha can kill things with the steel sword pretty nicely, so it's kind of nice to have it equipped on her for a bit. So we do that, and then we transfer Lara and drop her within the chest room so that she's out of range of this enemy soldier. And we're also going to move our prisoners closer to the door so they can escape as soon as possible. And I'll skip the dialogue for now, not because it's a bad dialogue or anything, but this is a gameplay video. You will want to experience the story yourself. Brighton has Wrath, so he will always critical on a counter, just like Orson, and that's very nice. And he also usually doubles this soldier, so that should be an easy kill for him. I think Matcha either comes close or kills him as well, so pretty nice to dispatch of the enemies. Okay, so on turn 2 we can free Lithis with Lara. And then we can make it so that Lithis is in range of opening this door next turn to free Leaf and friends. We're going to put Brighton in between and take the lockpick from Lara. And then we're going to have Lithis go here. This is just in range of the next door, and have him take the lockpick and the iron sword. The lockpick is of course to open the door, and the iron sword is so he doesn't get captured or attacked by the soldier, because the soldier will be like, hey, I can go for Laura, who has no weapons, and he will instantly capture her. And in case you haven't figured that part out, enemies can instantly capture you if you have no weapons. You can do the same to them if they have no weapons, but enemies will also instantly take all your inventory when they capture you, except for things that you cannot sell, like scrolls and personal weapons. But they will take everything else instantly. So if you're gonna make an enemy capture one of your units, if you're gonna capture bait, so to speak, you want to make sure that their inventory is empty. And Laura is very good for this. In fact, capture baiting is one of the main reasons why I find Manster a lot more manageable nowadays than it used to be for me. Because capture baiting, it means you will basically make an enemy do no damage for a turn, because they will be busy capturing her. And he will also have his stats when he captures her. Like right now you can see his stats are like 3 strength and 1 speed, for example. But just watch. I'm going to open this chest with matcha. And I'm going to end my turn. And you can see he goes for Laura, captures her. They pretty much always do this. And it's a really nice help. Okay, I can't actually show his half stats because these brigands are probably about to murder this guy. This is another advantage of capture baiting, is it will be easier for these NPC brigands to do their job. Only 2 out of 3 had to hit him for him to die. And that means you will get Laura back for a turn. And even if he survives somehow, you can kill with matcha if you want to. Okay, so we have Laura back, and the soldier's dead. And now we can open this door with Lifis to free the prisoners. And now from here, I can't really show you what to do turn by turn because it will take too long, but this should be a pretty good start to the chapter. We're only 3 turns in. We freed all the prisoners. We can open a chest with matcha. Try to make it out of this chapter as soon as possible. Don't wait around, don't fight reinforcements. You do want to get your chests back, of course. You want to get your items. You want to get the rapier at least. But you don't want to stay here and fight forever, because you'll just run out of weapons or HP eventually. Just fight your way through. The brigands will probably kill these 2 guys. But there will be like a lot of soldier reinforcements from here, and from here. You can block the reinforcements if you want to, and I really recommend doing it for this side in particular. They come from this square, turn 6 or 8 or so. You can look it up on WOD. They come from here, and you want to make it to this room over here. This room, by the way, it's I'm just gonna tell you, it's a bit of a trap. Once you open the door, there's like a ton of enemies behind it. And some of them will be in your range, so you want to be very prepared once you open this door. I'm not going to tell you exactly what's in it. And the best way to tackle it is either to use a choke point here to hold them off, or you can go inside the room and build like a giant wall, or you can kite them around the middle part, but that's kind of hard when there's like a ton of reinforcements. But those are the ways I usually tackle that part, but you'll have to figure that part out yourself. I would not blame anyone for making a save state before opening this door, because sometimes you just get hit too often and you die. It just happens. It's an unfortunate part of Thracia. But yeah, that's my general tips for chapter 4. Last general tip for Manster, aside of capture baiting: don't attempt to capture stuff if you can't afford to. In fact, just don't attempt to capture stuff right now, period. Because the only person who's good at capturing, and I say good at capturing as in has a high constitution stat, is Brighton. Everyone else is freaking garbage at it. And Brighton doesn't have the best accuracy, so even he is freaking garbage at it. No one is as good as like Finn and Dactyr and stuff, so don't bother capturing stuff. Just don't worry about it. Just work with the items you got. If you see like a priest you can capture or something, sure, go for it, but don't try to capture like soldiers and stuff. It's not worth it. Okay, so after this I'm going to talk more about the future chapters, so if you're stuck in chapter 4, try beating it with my tips, and then come back here for some more tips for 4X and 5 and onwards. Alright, so for 4X, a couple more tips. First of all, Dashin, the armor knight that you hopefully just recruited, you can use his torch to light up the place a little bit and see what you're doing. And that will also make it easier for me to explain stuff. So this part right here is the most annoying part. Thankfully it's all the way at the beginning, so if you die accidentally, you can just restart and it'll be quick. But you can see there's 4 soldiers here, and then there's 4 armor knights and 4 mages right behind them. And if you put someone in the middle, they can get attacked by all of these. You don't want that. So there's a couple ways you can tackle this. One way is to say, okay, we're just gonna put Fergus in range of a bunch of enemies, and hopefully he'll survive. Because if you remember last chapter, I sort of didn't really explain that, but Fergus is a pretty good combat unit, and for this chapter that's pretty important. Fergus, he only has like 27 crit right now with the rapier because he has 7 innate skill, which gives 7 crit, and then the rapier gives him 10 additional crit. And then Karen gives him an additional 10 crit from their support bonus. They have a mutual support that gives hit, avoid, crit, and crits avoid. But what they don't tell you is that Fergus also has a pursuit critical of 5. Now what that means is when Fergus double attacks, which is most of the time against these enemies, his second hit will have not just a normal crit chance, but 5 times the crit chance anyone else would have. Other characters have this kind of coefficient too. It can be anywhere between 0 and 5, but Fergus is the highest at 5. And that means he can critical a lot. And whenever he has the rapier equipped, or when he has Karen in range, or especially both, you can expect him to just critical almost all the time. So Fergus with the rapier equipped and Karen near him will always crit on the second attack, not the first one. So if you put Fergus in range of these guys, he'll probably run around killing them on enemy phase. Of course, he can die because these enemies are pretty strong, especially the armor knights. But that can help you if you're taking them out like piece by piece. For example, this soldier reaches up to this tile, and the only other enemy that can attack that tile is this mage over here. So if you put Fergus here, he will kill this soldier. If this soldier has 6 move, he would also kill that one. Same for this side, you can put him on a tile where Matcha is right now. He would kill this soldier, and he would lure this mage over. Another tip I have is these mages, they all have fire, and I think they just have fire tomes. Yeah, they just have fire tomes. If they are close to you, you can use Lithis to steal one of their tomes, and they will just instantly be disarmed, and they'll try to run away. And that's a good way to just basically kill one of them for free. They won't leave the map immediately, they'll try to run for the door, but they might still be in your way, but at least they won't attack you anymore. Another way, like elaborated on last chapter, is to use Laura as capture bait. Take away your weapon, take away all her items, put her in the middle of the crowd somewhere, and an enemy will run towards her and capture her. This will not trigger other enemies to move generally, just the one that can capture her. These enemies also will not move if you're not in their range, so you can pick them off one by one. You can't take your time forever because at some point there is reinforcements from here, like turn 10. But until then, you can just take your time to pick these enemies off. You don't have to take them on all at once. And a final general tip: the armor knights, they move before the mages. That means that if the armor knight can like capture someone over here, they will run towards them. And then if the mage doesn't see any more enemies, they will just stand still. So you can use that to your advantage as well. This part you don't have much control over what Asphel and Seti does. Generally, they will both survive, Seti especially. Asphel has like a very tiny chance of dying, but generally not to worry about them. But once you get through to this area, it'll all be fine. This area that's in the dark right here is also kind of dangerous. What you might want to do is rescue Sed with one of your heavier characters like Brighton or Dashin, and then drop him in a more convenient place. That's another tip I'm giving you. And yeah, really capture bait with Lara or even Lithis or Karen. Those are all great options to make this part easier. Take your time a little bit, don't stress out too much, and if all else fails, just YOLO Fergus. That's my tip. Also, don't forget everyone has to escape again. I'm gonna talk about chapter 5 after this, so play this chapter, then come back here for chapter 5 if you're having trouble with chapter 5. Okay, chapter 5. First of all, this chapter is hella long. Like, it's not just you. This chapter takes a long time because you gotta walk all the way around this whole circle thing to get to the exit, and that just takes a long time, especially since you won't be moving at full pace all the time. So there's 2 parts to this chapter. One is this arena with Avel and Nana right here, and the other part is just your own characters. They will converge at some point, but don't forget to move these 2. It's basically my first tip because I do that like half the time. So what you want to do, try not to kill these guys if you can, because they're pretty strong, but if you kill them, more enemies will just come out and they'll be stronger gradually as you go along. So try not to kill them. Ava will probably kill them by accident sometimes with like criticals, adepts, or just plain wearing them down. But the longer you hold out without killing them, the easier it will be for you. Obviously don't expose Nana. She's very frail. She can heal herself with her Earth Sword, but it's just not worth it. Just have Avel take care of them whenever she can. But for example, this turn right here, I could put Ava in range of the general, but I'm just going to move her out of the way so she doesn't fight on enemy phase. Because the longer these enemies stay alive, the better for you. Next point, if you let these mages just walk up here, because that's what they're going to do, you're eventually going to be like around here somewhere. They'll make my life like really difficult for you. So what I like to do is, I like to lure a couple of them with Asphel. Like not all of them, because usually your Asphel won't be strong enough to take them all on. Oh, excuse me, he's called Asbel now. I'm gonna have to get used to that. But you can take like a couple of them on. Just don't be afraid to use your Graph Caliber Tome a little bit. And just like put him right here. Put Leaf in his range because he's got a support with him that will boost his hit, avoid crit and crit avoid. And just fight a couple of them. But just don't do what I did, like putting him in range of the sniper. That's a bad idea. So put him more like here or here. That was my bad. And for these guys, in general, again, capture bait is so good in this chapter. Just capture bait with the armoroids, capture bait the soldiers if you want to. Capture bait, capture bait, capture bait. I know that sounds weird out of context. You can probably make like a different weird sounding word out of that. Also, you can steal these mage's tomes with Lithis. Don't forget that. That makes it a lot easier too. Capture this priest. He has a heal, dorky, and a pure water. They're all for free. The pure water makes Asphalt really strong. If you've been playing this chapter, you probably know that shit goes down when you open this door. I won't spoil what that is yet, but just remember that shit can happen. So if you're playing the chapter for a second time, keep that in mind when that happens. Yeah, and other than that, take it slow. Don't forget to get this item over here. It's a magic ring. You can get it. I usually get it with Lithis because he has 7 move. And he can use his movement stars sometimes to move again. This chapter is pretty annoying. It's not that hard, it's just long and tedious. Again, I don't blame anyone for like playing a segment of this and then save stating and taking a break. That's what I would do probably. But yeah, not the hardest chapter ever, just kind of tricky. Okay, in chapter 6, there's 2 routes you can take generally. Either you can just waltz right in here through this whole army of enemies and maybe like do some risky situations, get involved with 2 meteor tomes on these bishops with huge range and this stupid boss. Or you can take the chill route and go through here. You can mount all your characters now, so it's pretty easy to just run away quickly. Like you can mount all these people and get them on their horse and get them on their way. I would try to get all the villages. If you freed all the civilians in chapter 4x, then you can visit all the houses for some pretty good items. This is a recruitable character, and this has the first Master Seal. Those are really important. I think these have like the Odo Scroll and the Paragon Scroll. This one is Paragon, and this is the Odo Scroll. This one has a Holy Water. That doesn't really matter very much. This one has a Rapier. That one is pretty much free. But I would recommend going through the city with most of your characters. I usually get like a really strong Asbel, put him like in a forest here and have him take on all the enemies, but that only really works if your Asbel is really durable like mine is, because I give him like both life rings and everything, but that's not for everyone. At some point when you're like through here, the enemies from here will start moving, and you'll probably have to fight them if you're taking a bit slowly, but what you can do is try to outrace them and like try to escape through here with all your characters before that happens, and you can use Karen and her flying abilities to collect these houses without facing chances of death. But that's kind of tricky. But that's probably what I would recommend to do for a new player instead of fighting all these enemies. It's probably easier. You do gotta hurry up because there are reinforcements, and there's one particular, I can say, reinforcement that's really scary that you don't want to fight. I think the first set of reinforcements is like turn 13 or 14, and then the really scary one is turn 15. So get out of here before then, because that shit is scary. Okay, this is chapter 7. This is actually the last segment of the Manster part. After this, you're home free. You'll get a breather chapter. I imagine you'll probably need it at this point, because this part is just so stressful, especially with the stressful music playing all the time. So there is a way you can cheese this chapter a little bit, and I don't know if you want to, because it feels like a kind of a glitch slash bug. But if you put someone on this tile, you block a ton of reinforcements, including the boss. So you can try it if you find this chapter really hard, and I can imagine you do. I always block this tile myself. I'm not ashamed to admit it. But if you want like the full chapter 7 experience, don't block this tile. But if you're finding yourself overwhelmed, blocking this tile will make it a lot easier. It's like easy mode for this chapter. These guys, as you probably found out, don't move, so you don't have to worry about them very much. This group has Shiva in it, the sword fighter, and Safi pops up here turn 2, and she can recruit him. Lithis cannot recruit Shiva, so you want to use Safi for that. And I find the most reliable way to recruit Shiva is to just have Finn. Hold on, let me see if this save actually has that. Skip. Okay, there they are. Let's see, does Finn actually have it? No, he doesn't have it. Do you have it? Nope. Okay, so what I like to do in chapter 3 is I give Finn a scroll and some kind of weak lance, like a short lance or a javelin. And that way he can fight all these sword fighters, but he won't kill them in one round, which means he won't kill Shiva if you accidentally fight Shiva. Because if you use the Brave Lance, he will kill them all, like, easily. But you don't want that. But you do want Shiva to go towards here. So either what you can do is you can either have Finn go here and slowly clear the way through the sword fighters until Shiva's at front, and then you recruit him with Safi. Or you can have Shiva capture someone, like Lara from your team, and then block his way in this little passage right here, and then Shiva will walk down towards Safi instead, and probably won't attack you. I haven't tested if he never attacks you. If you block his way, he might, but he generally won't if he's already captured Lara. So then you can talk to him with Safi pretty easily. But Shiva does have movement stars, so you gotta be a little bit careful with how you go about things. But I'll probably link Don's 0% run in the description, and you can check out the strategy there. It's really cool. That's something you can do if you're stuck in this chapter. It's not the hardest chapter of the Manster bunch, but I imagine at this point you're probably feeling pretty worn out. So yeah, that's Manster for you. If you have any more questions about Manster or any other part of the 5 that you get stuck in, leave a comment below and I'll try to talk about it. I'm definitely going to upload like a Xavier video at some point, so that one's already in the bag, but let me know if you've got any other parts of the game that you'd like some tips for. Peace.